Hello and welcome to Viewers on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Pakistan has told the Afghanistan's interim Afghan authorities that terrorist organizations were causing violence and instability in the region and has stressed the need for tackling them through joint efforts. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mr. Mohsin Naqvi had a day-long visit to Afghanistan and had a meeting with the interim Afghan authorities. Interior Minister Sirajuddin Haqqani. According to Interior Ministry of Pakistan, discussions on bilateral relations, particularly counter-terrorism, infiltration and banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan took place. Also, the Interior Ministry statement says Mr. Mohsin Naqvi said to Sirajuddin Haqqani, let me quote, terrorist organizations are causing chaos and instability. We must stop them together. Pakistan has selflessly hosted millions of Afghan refugees for decades. The doors are open for the legal entry of Afghan citizens. Unquote. Also, the Interior Ministry statement says effective management of Pak-Afghan border, prevention of narcotics and mechanisms for regulating cross-border movement were also discussed in this particular meeting between the two leaders. Also, there have been a number of developments as far as the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan is concerned. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Ishaq also had a visit to Kabul, and a framework agreement among Uzbekistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan was signed regarding the joint feasibility study of the Uzbekistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan railway project. There have been also upgradation of the diplomatic relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan from the level of charge d'affaires to ambassadors. Also, the inaugural session of the additional secretary level talks happened. As far as the regional development is concerned, we'll be talking about Russia's recognition of the Afghan Taliban government and the implications associated with that also. For all this, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Dr. Shafqat Munir, security analyst. Dr. Munir, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Also in the studio, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Sangeen Panezai, expert of Afghan affairs. Mr. Panezai, thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by another participant. As he joins in, I'll be introducing him as well. Dr. Shafqat Munir, when we talk about this particular meeting, we have seen there have been a number of developments as far as the revival of the bilateral relationship between Afghanistan and Pakistan is concerned. I'll come back to you. I'll have to go for a quick short break right over here, and after this break, we'll start the discussion. Welcome back to Views on News. We are going to talk about the recent developments as far as the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan are concerned, and also Pakistan's Interior Minister Mr. Mohsin Naqvi had a day-long visit and also met interim Afghan authorities, Interior Minister Sirajuddin Haqqani. In the studio, we are joined by Dr. Shafqat Munir and Mr. Sangeen Panezai. Dr. Munir, now this particular visit, we've on a number of occasions, a number of times, Pakistan has conveyed to the interim Afghan authorities regarding as to the kind of threat that emanates from the Afghan soil because of the terrorist organizations which are functioning over there. They have taken safe havens in Afghanistan, and it was the responsibility of the Afghan Taliban to do something decisively and something concrete to uproot this particular menace from Afghan soil. Haven't been any sort of development. How many times would the Pakistani authorities have to remind the Afghan Taliban that this is your duty? Not only your duty, but if you do something concrete about these terrorist organizations or the militant outfits, especially those which are posing direct threat to Pakistan, which have been involved in perpetrating heinous acts of terrorism here in Pakistan since the Kabul takeover by the Taliban, it would be in their interest as well, and in the interest of the overall regional stability as well.
I think Pakistan's continuous engagement with Afghanistan, despite Pakistan have been having kind of violation of the border and cross-border infiltration by terrorist groups were coming up, and based on that, intelligence operation took place. Despite all these military action against the terrorists, Pakistan has not abandoned the path of diplomacy with Afghan leadership, despite the fact that there was no initially there was a cold shoulder, but later on the highest leadership of Afghan Taliban Kabul regime, they have been categorically, the fatwa is there, and they have been asking that this terrorism should be stopped, and it is not that we will not allow any groups to move against Pakistan. All these commits were coming up by various not only visits from Pakistan but visits from Afghanistan to Islamabad. So these kind of exchanges has been going on back and forth, and the recent interaction was very high level when the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Saeed visited there and had a long discussion, and there was a tripartite agreement with the Uzbekistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan. So all these related things regarding the regional peace and development were discussed, and all the benefits which Taliban regime can benefit from all these regional activities and regional development, they were told to them. And now finally the Interior Minister also went and told them that these are common enemies. At the moment which the press survey we had, just you also narrated that shows that at least there is a common concern that terrorist organizations are harming the relationship between the two nations. So if Pakistan has also stepped forward in terms of diplomatic relation, enhancing the status of Afghanistan as a diplomatic status, and also have revival of the interministerial committee and various bilateral agreement relating to narcotics trade and many other things. These are the soft thing which Pakistan has done and has been doing and could have done. But now it is the turn from the Afghanistan side that only statements would not work. They have to practically show or rather reciprocate the Pakistan spirit. Only then the relation can continue. Now the challenge is that whether the Kabul regime is in a position to get hold of all these terrorist groups operating from Afghanistan, that's really a challenge.
Okay,
and at the moment we have seen that this challenge is not only that Pakistan is facing, but even within the Taliban groupings, Kabul regimes, they are also facing these kind of differences and threats from the terrorist group within Afghanistan.
Dr. Munir, when you talk of the Afghan Taliban, whether they would be in a sort of a position to take any sort of a concrete action against such terrorist groups, they have claimed to have taken some decisive action as far as the IS Khorasan is concerned, right? They have also claimed at the same time to have taken out and eliminated some of the top key figures of that particular organization. So if they can take some sort of an action which they can so categorically claim later on, why can't they take that kind of an action against Band Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in particular?
Basically, actually, they also have their own internal groupings. That is why they have problem. But at least if they have a confidence, the way Pakistan is offering them all these kind of relationships, if they enter into a serious dialogue, then Pakistan can also provide this space. For example, how to tackle with these TTP and other groups operating inside Afghanistan. Pakistan is only averting any kind of direct thing. Pakistan is in a position to continue with the intelligence based operation even across the border. But it is Taliban, they have to actually they have to step forward in this direction, and then Pakistan can support them and eliminating these terrorist groups.
I'll come back to you. There are a number of developments which have already been taken place. Pakistan had been extending that hand of friendship, the cooperation on multiple fronts towards the Afghan people. We saw that Afghan peace and reconciliation process also happening. Pakistan played a pivotal role during that one as well, and there was expectation largely that there would be some sort of an attitude which would be leading to some sort of a positive atmosphere as far as ensuring regional peace and stability is concerned. But to the contrary of that expectation. Afghan Taliban didn't do anything concrete. I'll come back to that particular point also. Mr. Panezai, is there any sort of an iota of doubt left when Pakistani authorities with irrefutable evidence go to the Afghan authorities, tell them that this is how Afghan nationals have been involved in perpetrating heinous crimes of terrorism here in Pakistan, especially this resurgence of terrorism that took place after Kabul was taken over by the Afghan Taliban back in August 2021. Give us a sense of what sort of a mindset is at play at this particular point in time when we talk about Afghan Talibans, whether they realize that this is the reality, that the terrorist organizations and militant outfits which are taking safe havens there on the Afghan soil are actually a huge threat not only to Pakistan but also to the people of Afghanistan, and subsequently they could also pose a threat to the very interim Afghan authorities' position within Afghanistan and to the overall regional stability? Or is there anything else required to make the interim Afghan authorities realize that there happens to be a threat of serious nature because of these terrorist organizations?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. Yes, absolutely, there exists no doubt. Pakistan has repeatedly offered irrefutable intelligence and evidences that Afghan soil particular has been used against Pakistan. Case in point is the recent terrorist attack in Balochistan where the Jafar train hijacking took place. We had enough irreplaceable and irrefutable intelligence that the terrorist groups were in contact with the Afghan facilitated inside Afghanistan, number one. Besides that, we have enough, even the United Nations Security Council reports that Afghanistan is becoming a hub for regional terrorist groups. Case in point is the TTP, Al-Qaeda, ISKP, ETIM, and other terrorist groups, which is posing a threat not only for Pakistan but for all the regional countries, including Russia, including China, including to all this region, number one. The question which you asked, obviously Pakistan expected a very friendly government in Afghanistan because it is Pakistan which has been gracefully offering a friendship hand to Afghan people particular. But unfortunately, the expectation we had ever since the Afghan authority they took place, but unfortunately we have not seen the satisfactory response. However, the recent back-to-back diplomatic maneuverings which has been taken between the two countries, I think it needs to be seen with a very positive aspect. And the question you asked amid the regional development, I think it has got there is a dichotomy. One at the bilateral level, second at the regional level. I think in the bilateral level, Afghan government particular, they need to understand, since Pakistan is the neighbor, they need Pakistan and neighbor need each other. So terrorism is a phenomena, it's a scourge. Pakistan has been affected the most in this part of the region. So as far as the delimitation of the Afghan government is concerned, I think it is enough time. It's more than the 4 years ever since they took over. I mean, yeah, there have been statements have been coming out, but it's high time the words must reflect the actions. I mean, in the
fourth
interior
anniversary of the takeover of Kabul is pretty much around the corner on 15th of August.
Exactly.
Almost a month left.
Exactly, that's what I've been saying. I mean, in theory, they have been saying they condemn, they stop the TTP terrorists, but in reality, we have seen. I mean, if you see the TTP, they have the familial bond with one of the few factions with the Afghan government. I mean, whenever the Afghan Taliban, once they were fighting the Americans.
How difficult it is for them to take an action if they make up their mind. As per a number of United Nations reports that you've already mentioned also, the number of members of the banned TTP they mention is around 5,000 to 6,000 based in Afghanistan. So is it that difficult for the interim Afghan authorities, which have claimed to have improved the overall economic condition as well as the security condition at home, they can't take any action against such number of terrorists which are associated with this banned organization on the demand of a country which is ready to give them incentives of such sorts when it comes to economic cooperation, when it comes to the regional connectivity and a number of other fronts as well?
I think by this time, as you just mentioned, there have been I mean, the next anniversary is taking place, they must entertain the genuine rights, the genuine concerns of Pakistan. I mean, the TTP has been carrying out attacks against Pakistan, which with the support of the Afghan government. I think the way they give a very irresponsible act, the way they have been supporting the TTP, that is, that cannot be condoned, number one. Number two, when it comes to the internal mixture, internal dynamics of the Afghan government, I mean, besides TTP, the Afghan government, I mean, the TTA has been facing the challenge from the ISKP. I think at that time, they need, at the tactical level, they need the support of the TTP. But when it comes to the genuine concerns of Pakistan, that's a red line. TTP has been posing a threat to the national security of Pakistan, and you and I have been seeing for the last 2 years, any single attack on any citizen of Pakistan is an attack on the national security of Pakistan. So Pakistan has given enough irrefutable evidences to Afghanistan and the regional countries as well. And as far as the regional context is concerned, I think Pakistan and China, they are working together. I mean, by the time Pakistan's concerns are not addressed, that is the terrorism, and terrorism is a common denominator, common challenge for all regional countries, for that is Iran, for China. I think by the time the Pakistan genuine concerns are not addressed, the recognition, the international, engagement with Afghanistan would be a far cry.
Right, we are honored to be joined by another participant on the video link, Major General retired Mahmood. He is a defense analyst. General Mahmood, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Okay, so specifically talking about the number of members of Band Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan based in Afghanistan using Afghan soil to perpetrate heinous acts of terror against the state of Pakistan. Why it becomes difficult for the interim Afghan authorities, which after the Kabul takeover have claimed over the number of years, and their anniversary of the takeover, 4th anniversary, is just around the corner. They've claimed they've improved the security situation at home. They've also revived the economy of the war-ravaged country. Why they've been unable to take any sort of concrete action against the Band Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan on the demand of their immediate neighbor Pakistan, which had been doing so much over the number of decades for them?
Jawad, thank you very much for the invite. I think there are many reasons for that. This Afghanistan interim setup, actually, we start considering them a setup which has come through some prominent political process. It has not come through the political process. We need to understand that this is the government, this is a setup which is the byproduct of the war. So they're not that much answerable to the people of Afghanistan. As Sangeen was saying, probably he was right, that once these Afghanistan interim setup, once they will decide that they have to govern Afghanistan for the people of Afghanistan first. So they have to set the priorities. As far as Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is concerned, I seriously think that Afghanistan interim setup, which has already, in 2021, they created some environment of a dialogue only. So they only facilitated to establish dialogue between Pakistani authorities and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And after which we all know that's history now, how they were tried to be, got settled in KPK, they were brought back. Unfortunately, these are the elements whom Pakistan has given many chances in the past. Pakistan is the only country with big military, with big power, which has given the maximum chances to the peace to all its neighbors, including Afghanistan and including our own people who are playing in the hands of the enemy. Primarily, they have become an active client of a proxy state, that is India. Both Afghanistan, there are people in the Afghanistan interim setup, not all, I'm not saying that all of them are like that, because they don't have a strategic control over Afghanistan, neither they have control within the government. There are small groups, there are small factions. It has become a kind of a franchise ownership, So there are, they have the direct linkage with India also. I'm not saying that this is it's a policy of Afghanistan interim setup to play as a client to a proxy. But there are factions, franchises, people who are controlling. A lot of economics is attached with this terrorism. A lot of illegal spectrum is attached with this terrorism. So it has become a kind of a way of life as well as economic, activity for them. So there are people, but until unless the political processes they don't start taking place in Afghanistan, I am not expecting that there'll be a collective thinking or a cumulative policy of Afghanistan interim setup. So if once we talk about the Doha Accord, we talk about the use of soil that will not be allowed by the Afghan interim setup to be used by the terrorists against any other country. But there are other elements also, other factors, other clauses of that agreement also, where then all inclusive government of Afghanistan was to take place, where the Afghan factions dialogue took place. If you remember, Abdullah
The
was
point,
probably
Jana Mahmood, that is exactly the point I was about to come. That was also one of the very important points in the Doha Peace Accord, the formation of an inclusive government over there in Afghanistan. It's about to be 4 years. What has held the interim Afghan authorities from following that process of bringing in all the stakeholders, going through the process of deliberation, and then giving that particular provision of Doha Peace Accord a chance to the formation of an inclusive government? And if they've been unable to follow that particular promise, what they themselves made in that Doha Peace Accord, and they are unable to bring all the stakeholders at a single platform to deliberate upon the future of the Afghan people, how can we expect that they could possibly behave responsibility when it comes to interstate relations?
That's a key question. That is a key question. But Jawad, for that also, for this process also, we will have to put pressure, an international, regional pressure on Afghanistan interim setup. Now there are countries which have started, recognizing these setups, like Russia. India is already it's almost they have recognized them because they're working with them hands in glove. So if these things will the pressure is not put on them to establish this all-inclusive government, at least there should be a government by the people of Afghanistan, for the people of Afghanistan. Till that time, we need to put a lot of pressure, international pressure, other than the military and pressures related to the security situation and terrorism. These political processes, pressure for the human rights violations which are taking place in Afghanistan. So all nations will have to look into these areas also. Till the time the Afghanistan interim setup is not feeling this kind of a pressure, they're not going to address these issues. So a complete spectrum. We should be working on the complete spectrum in the economic fields, in the political fields, as far as relationships are concerned. Of course, there's no doubt. No one on God's earth will say that Afghanistan, without the support of Pakistan, there can be a stability inside Afghanistan. Or nobody can say that with the disturbed and this kind of Afghanistan is equally detrimental to the security and the economic, social, political progress of Pakistan. So this is the requirement of both the countries. But I think we have to work at international forums, in the regional forums, other than the security issues. Yes, security is the main concern. But other than that, we have to establish consensus and convergences to put pressure on Afghanistan government and to give them incentives as well. Because we are also, this is our own requirement to have stability in Afghanistan.
Giving them incentives. Now, there are a number of factors which are associated with giving Afghan Taliban the incentives. Jana Mahmood, I'll to you for that also. Dr. Munir, when we talk about other than the security domain, the engagement on the economic front as well as the political front, we have seen Pakistan engaging with the interim Afghan authorities on a number of fronts of that sort. When it comes to their fulfillment of the promise, they didn't form any inclusive government, they didn't take any of the stakeholder into confidence as far as the intra-Afghan relations is concerned. Your understanding, but they've been unable so miserably at that particular front. How can one expect them to go successful as far as ensuring their promises at the international level or the alleviating the concerns of the international community is concerned?
I think the guarantor of the Doha Accord and those who have been part of the process, they must have rigorously followed during these 4 years, which ultimately could not took place as they should have been. So that's why they stabilize their position, and their stability is also on the different groups, and different groups aligned to all these terrorist groups, including TTP. That's why they are dependent on these proxies, which are supported by India partly, and other interest groups are also there. So though diplomatically, if the international forces, according to the promise and accord, if they would have been pressurizing them, then there could have been a situation that there could be a broad-based government politically, which did not happen. What happened in the political front is that only they accommodated the faction within them.
So when it comes to pressurizing the interim Afghan authorities, there are two, let's talk about two different aspects. The first option could be the pressurizing the interim Afghan authorities so that they fulfill their promises. The other one is to incentivize them. So both of these options have been discussed at length on a number of occasions. Now, when we talk about pressurizing them, what could be possible manifestations of that particular pressure on the interim Afghan authorities? We've seen sanctions being imposed. The Afghan assets were also frozen after the international troops withdrew. They were not given the legitimate recognition as well until now. Russia has done so. I mean, the pressure on a number of fronts have been going on, and then the sharing of the evidence with the interim Afghan authorities also. Why this pressure didn't lead them to fulfill that promise?
My understanding is that the external pressure is there, but they have an internal pressure of these terrorist groups, because they have been fighting their fight when these Afghan Taliban were fighting, and when they got power, now they are the power in the power sharing. These groups are also behind it. So they now having their share, and they have within them a pressure group. For example, the weapons left by the Americans, where are they? And who is selling them? Who is buying them? Who is paying for these things? So certainly somebody is paying it to this war. And that's why that pressure on the Afghan interim government or various faction still exists there. If they will be out of that pressure, only then probably they could be in a position to hear to the word. Now the issue is that word has to solve this problem, that how they can get them relieved from within their own pressure of the armed group. They are armed. You say, you can rightly say these are 5,000, but with weaponized with the modern weapons. So how can you say just 5,000 people cannot do anything? So that's why they are playing the short. That's why, and somebody is paying it. Of course, the Indian proxies are there. We cannot deny that. So we have to look at differently. One is the engagement with the Afghan interim government, the support you have mentioned, the kind of things we are offering to them. We should keep doing it. And secondly, the world, including Pakistan, we have to have sought out and carve out a way forward for them, so that they themselves feel secured, and then only they can be responding to international calls.
Right. Mr. Sangeen Khan Panezai, the economic activity related to that entire illegal spectrum, which has already been mentioned by General Zahid Mahmood also, as compared to the dividends which are associated with the economic cooperation within the region, the economic cooperation, the kind of benefits the Afghan people can get when Afghanistan cooperates economically with Pakistan, the dividends which are related to regional connectivity, comparing the two, which outweighs the other?
Yes, absolutely. The Afghan interim authorities, particularly those who are running the helm of the affair, especially from the Kandahar, they need to realize, yes, for the time being, the Taliban has become a political reality. If they want to sustain that reality, they need to cooperate with the international community. Since the world has changed, the Taliban has transformed. I think they need to cooperate if they really want the international complete engagement. And end of the day, they need to cater the needs of their own people. The people are demanding their own rights. They need to provide the political rights, offer the inclusive government,
Are people allowed to demand their own rights in Afghanistan?
I think for the last 20 years, I mean the generation we have seen, I think they need to come out, and since when the Americans were in Afghanistan, they had the the access to modern education. But I think if the Afghanistan really need to prosper, if they really need to provide the prosperity, stability for their own people, they need to cooperate. As far as your question was concerned for the regional connectivity, I mean, when there is a security, there would be a development. Without a security, there can no development, no economic activity. Since we have a couple of reports, there are over 22 terrorist groups which are working inside Afghanistan, including BRAS, TTP, the Fitnatul Khawarij, Fitnatul Hindustan, which are posing a threat for Pakistan. Now there are other groups which are posing a threat for Russia, China, for the regional actors. So I believe that if Afghanistan really needs stability, it needs economic investment, international engagement, they will have to cooperate. For that, if there is a peace, stability in Afghanistan, there would be access to the Central Asian states, and Pakistan would be connected through Pakistan, and the Afghanistan, Central Asia, the whole market would be connected to Middle East market and the European market. So the crux is that stability and security. For that, I think the ball remains in the Afghan Taliban court, and they have the, I think by this time, more than 4 years, they need to differentiate. Either they want international engagement or they want to be associated with these Fitnatul Khawarij or terrorists.
How far-reaching an impact this particular recent agreement when it comes to doing the joint feasibility study regarding that Uzbekistan-Afghanistan Pakistan railway line project is concerned?
It is very much important. Again, I would say back in the past as well, we had TAPI and CASA. There exist multiple opportunities. But fact of the matter is Afghanistan ready to cooperate with regional actors? If that is the case, each and every opportunity is quite fruitful, and it would provide the desired dividends. Again, as you mentioned, obviously it is very effective, because Afghanistan needs, since Afghanistan is a landlocked country, so is the case with the Central Asian states, they need the access through Pakistan. So Pakistan has been always open, has always been generous enough to support, give access to Afghan brothers, including our other immediate neighboring countries. As General Sab rightly pointed out, Pakistan is the only country which has been always open for a peace, stability to all neighboring countries. So I believe that the ball remains in the Afghan Taliban's court. They need to cooperate if they really wish to have the international engagement. Other point I would like to mention, since terrorism is the global and regional scourge, Pakistan has been the most affected. And recently, I would like to take the opportunity to offer tribute to the two shuhadas recently, two army officers, son of the soil, one from Balochistan, Major Anwar Kakad, and one from Azad Kashmir, Major Abnawaz Gilani. So this, each and every day, son of the soil have been giving sacrifice for our country. So terrorism is a red line. If any attack on the citizen of Pakistan, armed forces of Pakistan, is an attack on the national security of Pakistan. So that should be a red line, and hope so we can expect from the international community and about
Right, General Zahid Mahmood, when we talk about that, if we go a little back in history, back in 2021, when the Afghan Taliban took over Kabul, we saw across the border on the Indian side, the Indian media showed at that particular point in time, they were not clearly very happy with whatever the change happened over there. During that very Afghan peace and reconciliation process, we saw the element of peace spoiler. Of course, India trying to sabotage that particular Afghan peace and reconciliation efforts. Pakistan played a pivotal role in that. Pakistan has always been desirous of a peaceful, stable, and a united Afghanistan, hence made those efforts at that particular point in time as well. India is clearly not happy at that particular time with the Afghan Taliban's takeover of Kabul. Now, down the 4 years time span, we see India using proxies and the Afghan soil to create instability in Pakistan. What exactly, where did perhaps we did not understand the Afghan Taliban's mindset 2.0, in fact, that India again had some sort of collusion or sort of collaboration which we need to had deliberated upon, and how could that loophole be addressed at this particular point in time?
Jawad, this is a very important question you have asked. I think Pakistan is not only misreading or miscalculating since 2021. It has happened all along our history. So this is not a new phenomena for us. Unfortunately, with all my respect to my Afghan brothers, they have never, valued Pakistan's sincere effort for the stability and the progress of Afghanistan. This has never been. They have never given value to our sacrifices. They have never given value to our sincerity to them. This is unfortunate. Only maybe 2 or 3 years in our history when once we have had very good relationship. Otherwise, the relationship with Afghanistan have been stemming out from the security environment. United States of Americans, once they had their interest initially against the Russians and then against Taliban. So that was the only time, Pakistan was considered for application, or for, we can say that we have had good relationship with Afghanistan during that period. That only related to the military application or the security application. We have not worked much more as far as the people-to-people contact is concerned. We have not invested much in the Afghan people, to be very honest. Then we are talking about the modern education. Sangeen was just hinting toward that. But what about the education which was imparted to the Afghan children during the war? These syllabus which has come from the Nebraska University and this ideological engineering of the Afghan nation, that was being done. Those were the time once we should have understood what is going to happen. India is always used to this kind of diplomacy. They're champion in that. They were in Security Council at that time in 2021, and they were the first country which made a lot of hue and cry that no one should recognize these Taliban because they had fear that these will be used by Pakistan against India, or they will be used against the interest of, Indian interest. That was also charade and fake. Pakistan has never ever used proxies or used third world countries or third party to destabilize any country, even India. So these are the charade things. And then they immediately, maybe after 3-4 months down the line, they understood that though this is the illegal government in Afghanistan, but they have to work with the de facto government. So the de jure things was out, and they pronouncedly boast about it. Then they invested those $3 billion, if I'm not wrong, they pumped into Afghanistan just to showcase them that they're very sincere to the Afghanistan people. These are the anti-Muslim hate-based ideological application, this saffronized Indian application. They can't protect the Muslims in Delhi. The Muslim of Delhi is vulnerable to their, either to Waqf bill or to, nowadays they are changing the names of the cities which are named after Muslims. Islampur today was probably, the name is again changed. The Muslim names are being changed. So this saffronized application is there. How can they be sincere to Afghanistan? They just want to use these Afghanis against Pakistan, and then they will throw them in the dustbin. But unfortunately, other than the war economy, other than the economy related to the terrorism, there's nothing much is happening inside Afghanistan. So Americans have the prime responsibility. Americans must put pressure on India and countries like that, those who are using them as proxies, because this is their lead instrument of their policy. So they need such people. So I think this is this is a collective responsibility of the international community, and Pakistan should talk about not only about security alone or terrorism alone, but other problems, human rights violations, the political processes in Afghanistan, the factors which are really creating this unstable Afghanistan. And for the people of Afghanistan, we should make more, pronouncedly, we should make more effort, because the people of Afghanistan are mostly ignored. Unfortunately, I feel for them. As far as Afghanistan people are concerned, our relationship should be tremendous and is tremendous. We share many things. We have shared values. But as far as the interim setup is concerned, I'll always keep my fingers crossed that something positive will happen soon. Unless
point well. I get your point well, General Zahid Mahmood. Now, your understanding regarding as to what sort of implications are associated with this development, Russia's recognition of the Afghan Taliban's government, they say it will give impetus to development of productive bilateral cooperation. Now, we have also seen there has been an upgradation of diplomatic relations between China and Afghanistan, Uzbekistan and Afghanistan, the UAE, and most recently, Pakistan has also upgraded the diplomatic relations from charge d'affaires to ambassador level. But this recognition comes from Russia. This is the first ever recognition. How do you think it's going to actually affect the overall equation? Jana Zahid Mahmood, your understanding regarding this Russia's recognition of the Afghan.
You see, this diplomatic relationship, improvement in diplomatic relationship, Russia, again, it is stemming out from the regional environment. It is not the bilateral or will of a Russian. It is unfortunately stemming out from the war-like regional environment which is prevailing in this region. So again, Russians will, of course, will never allow Afghanistan soil to be occupied again by the Americans who will challenge their interests, you see. So they would like to keep Afghanistan as a buffer, which has always been the history of this Afghanistani soil. So they will have, I mean, because they have a lot of interest, although they have the interest that through Afghanistan they should reach to the waters, and through Afghanistan they can reach through Central Asia and Afghanistan, through Pakistan or India or Iran, something, you know. So Russians also have a lot of interest. They've also invested hugely, probably $400 billion. All three major powers, America, Russia and China, they have their economic interest in Afghanistan. They have interest in the stability, but the means are the ways they want to adopt are totally different. So then again, the situation in Afghanistan is also related with the situation in South Asia and the Middle East also, because that has also spillover effect. So as far as Russia is concerned, coming back to your question, I think this interest which they are taking, it is more because of the situation, because of their war with Ukraine and their interest against United States. But again, this seems to be a very short-lived, because Russians don't have that capacity which can contribute towards a greater stability in the region.
Right. Dr. Munir, back in 2016, we saw Russia initiated Moscow format. A number of sessions of that particular format have also taken place in parallel to what the process as far as which was led by the Americans were concerned. Now, Russia's recognition of the Afghan Taliban, it's not any sort of an upgradation like countries like China, UAE, Uzbekistan and Pakistan. It's a direct recognition. What do you think has prompted Russians to do that, and what sort of implications would be there?
I think if you look at Russia in the context of history, that is the former Soviet Union. So Russia has a lot of experiences, when they were in Soviet Union, they were here in Afghanistan. So now at least now they want that a country which has been caused their dismemberment, the war started from here. They want to have their own interest here with the the interest of Americans, so that they can ditch the American interest in this region. Because Central Asia is the main thing where everybody want to enter. The Americans, even Chinese want to go through that. Even this Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan rail ring, that would be good for the region, for Pakistan. And China has another corridor in Central Asian states. So all they are connecting with their business interests. So they want to, since in Asia, now China and Russia, they are playing differently against the interest of America. So that's why I think that's the significance of the Russian recognition of this.
Dr. Shafqat, Munir, security analyst, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Mr. Sangeen Khan Panezai, expert of Afghan affairs, thank you very much for your time also. And on the video link, we were joined by Major General retired Zahid Mahmood, defense analyst General Mahmood. Thank you very much for your time also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.